I don't know if anybody's seen this joint, man. You know, I usually have whole thing cast on Sundays, but this weekend, pretty much had a thing there where I spent time with family and all that. So didn't necessarily have anything on Sunday, right? Basically, out and about and whatnot night. So, just having this little discussion here now. I mean, I don't know who's gonna be jumping on here live or jumping on here later or whatever it is, man. But just trying to get a few things going on, a few things cracking, man. But I had to go ahead and go and see my family, see my moms, all that type of stuff, see my cousins, aunts, all that. Anytime you have a chance to do that, you go ahead and do it. Feel me? Like these days, man, it's almost like family don't really get together for stuff, man. So anytime you had that opportunity, you go ahead and do it. You feel me? So that's pretty much what I did. Just on the way back home, and all that type of stuff right now. But we just reacting to what happened this weekend, man. Big story, of course. Jaime Munguia, former world champion at 154 pounds, a WBO champion at 154 pounds. We know that he went up to 160, had the fights at 160, went up to 168, had fights at 168, had the thing there where he was able to face Santos Saul Alvarez Barragan earlier this year in Cinco de Mayo weekend of this year. Ended up getting knocked down, and then after that went to a decision, then pretty much got busy with a couple of fights, had a fight against Eric Bazinian, and that and then now he was over in Mexico, and for the dude named Bruno Surace, Sivache, some shit. I don't know, man. This is just off the cuff here, man. But he had this fight here with Bruno Surace, and thinking, it was like a stay busy fight. Had something there where he was highly favored. The odds had him at some plus 1,400 or something, probably even higher than that against Bruno Surace, man. Surace is undefeated, but only had 4 wins by way of knockout. Man, I can't really recall his record. You feel me? But all I know is that dude had 4 wins by way of knockout. You're going into this fight, you're going to have Jaime Munguia. I thought after the fight that he had against Eric Bazinian that they were going to set him up for an eventual bout against Christian and Billy or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Having a fight against Christian and Billy or some shit, to try to get him there within contention to compete for the super middleweight title once again, right? But he said, you know what? I'm going to stay busy. I'm going to have another fight, this time in my home country of Mexico, all about Viva Mexico and all that type of shit, right? All right. So he has a fight against Bruno Surace, or whatever his name is, man. I still be messing up that name, right? Looks like he's doing pretty well in those first few rounds. Early start, getting to Surace. And, what up? What's happening? What's going on? And able to score a knockdown early in the fight. So it's almost looking like he gonna get through this bout and get a win, almost like an easy win. Feel me? But then you just seen Jaime Munguia do Jaime Munguia things. All he doing is just having his guard up, approaching, coming forward, having his guard up. And then once he gets within range, once he tries to get his opponent on the ropes, then he throws. He don't set up shots. He doesn't really do feints. Nothing like that. What Floyd Mayweather Jr. said, he's just straight up and down, no special effects. And that's what you got with Jaime Munguia, man. Straight up and down, no special effects. So pretty much it's predictable, right? So Bruno basically has him being, very predictable and able to have a high guard even while being in the ropes. Because Jaime Munguia ain't doing nothing to set up no shots, not really throwing uppercuts like that, not really getting Surace to engage, at least early, or at least early in the fight, like engage too much. But what you did see, at least for me, right? what you see, right, is Surace, he was like really, really landing some quick shots. It looked like he was a faster fighter in there. So even though he wasn't like really engaging that much early, you feel me? Like, who is you, dog? Like, who is you, dog? Like, we ain't doing that today. We ain't doing that. Feel me? I'm like, yo, Surace out there being the quicker fighter and all that. So what I'm seeing is I'm like, well, even though Surace ain't even engaging that much, when he does throw, he is fast, like pretty fast in comparison to Jaime Munguia. So I'm like, well, Jaime Munguia better do something, because if Surace is able to land like this, then he might have some trouble late in the fight. Feel me? So I'm seeing what's going on with Surace. All he's doing is the same thing every round. High guard, seeing what Jaime Munguia is throwing, and just blocking most of the shots that Jaime Munguia was throwing. Because, like I said, straight up and down, not setting up shots, not feints, not getting feints, not getting Surace to engage to be able to set him up and throw counter shots, nothing like that. So, with that being said, right, I'm like, oh boy, if Munguia doesn't do much different or anything much different later on in the fight, he'd be open to something where he could get caught. Now, I wouldn't say that he would get caught like he did, but you almost seen a sign of that when you see Surace late in the round landing uppercut on Jaime Munguia. And it was like the same type of uppercut that Canelo Alvarez uppercut ended solid enough to put Jaime Munguia to the canvas, so that hook that followed the uppercut didn't really land that much. Didn't really need that hook. So you can see that Jaime Munguia was susceptible to that uppercut. But he still was doing the same thing, still coming forward, hands up, guard up and down, throwing the jabs, throwing power shots, getting the guy to the corner, getting Surace to the ropes, and just doing the same thing over and over. But what it did was it had Surace kind of figure out his pattern. And when he figured out that pattern, he's like, you know what? He'll throw 2 or 3 punches at a time, and then not only will he stop, but he'll have a guard down or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically what happened. You know what I'm saying? Man, I don't know what the heck going on here, man. Yo, I don't know what in the world this thing is. So you got Jaime Munguia just going through the motions, like, oh, I could get through this, go through this round by round. I've already knocked him down. All I do is my combinations, get in and out when I can, or whatever it is. And then once I'm finished with that, then I just do the same thing over and over, because even though Surace's throwing punches, he ain't really get me with nothing that I'm worried about too much, right? But then when he had threw a combination like he usually did, he did not expect Surace to throw the 1-2 down the middle back when he had his guard not really back to his face, so to speak. So Jaime Munguia caught that 1-2, and that was it. What he said, take it easy on Jaime, man. He got caught, man. He got caught by a guy that had 4 wins by way of knockout, bro. 4. You like when you have something like that, that's something where they just felt like, hey, this is gonna be a soft touch, easy work, stay busy fight, get himself ready for 2025, and see if he'll get himself in position for, a final eliminator bout or something, or maybe he'll get in action to try to angle for maybe the IBF title at super middleweight. You feel me? So my thing is like, okay, if they feel like this is a cakewalk, then they approach this fight like a cakewalk. And he got hit with that motherfucking cake, dog. That 1-2 was something. And boy, oh boy, he got hit with that 1-2, hit the canvas. I'm like, ooh, shit. And man, hopefully y'all are able to watch it live. It had it joined on the replay, man. Jaime Munguia was on that canvas, and it looked like he was thinking about life or something, because he was down there. He was down there for a good little bit. You know what I mean? Now, I meant, what is it? Like, oh, no. I'm driving around, man, or something. Feel me? It was almost like Jaime Munguia was thinking about if he want to get up. Because that count, some folks said that was a quick count. Hey, listen, man, it's a 10 count, not 10 seconds. It all depends on the ref. You feel me? And he was like thinking, I'm like, I guess he was trying to, collect where he was at or something like that, because I guess he didn't think that he would be on the canvas. But before he was even able to properly get up, the referee just went ahead and waved that belt like it was over in the UK or something. But like to get caught like that for a guy, like I said, former WBO super welterweight champion, contender there at the middleweight division, never competed for the world title in the middleweight division. His only time that he competed for a world title after being at 154 was against Canelo Alvarez. You feel me? He would have told Munguia, hey man, I don't know what was going on with Jaime Munguia that night, man, but he was like, back and forth with trainers and camps and all that type of stuff, but like it seemed like Jaime Munguia was just basically the fighter that he is up to this particular point. He's had a whole bunch of fights, over in Mexico, then being able to be that contender that defeated Saddam Ali, beat up Saddam Ali or whatnot. And then get the middleweight, but I guess, see if y'all hear me or y'all see me up here, man. Like the whole joint here with like Monday night quarterbacking or Monday morning quarterbacking. You feel me? That Eric Gomez seen what was up with Jaime Munguia after all them fights and didn't necessarily match him up against those, the top contenders in the middleweight division, and then up into the super middleweight division, matched him up carefully until they had the opportunity for him to fight Canelo Alvarez. Because remember, at 160 pounds, they were looking to have Jaime Munguia challenge Jamal Charlo when Jamal Charlo had the WBC middleweight title. And it seemed like at the 11th hour, they had pulled Jaime Munguia from that fight. So maybe they saw something then. And then after that, they messed him up mad careful. And you saw what happened there in the Sergey Derevyanchenko fight. Like, you see how close that was. Some people felt like fight. Feel me? And so they moved forward, and they got, Munguia a couple of matchups there before he was able to fight Canelo Alvarez in May of this year. And you seen there where it was basically a whole nother level when it came to experience between Jaime Munguia and Canelo Alvarez, right? And so after that knockdown, it was almost like, hey, man, I'll spare you, man. I know that they, tried to get you up here to see if you could go ahead and challenge me and all that, but you know good. You're not that good. So he just, taught Munguia a lesson and then just coasted for the rest of that fight. Feel me? And then after that, Munguia just got himself back in the gear, back in the mix. I think he did have like one fight before he fought Eric Bazinian there, when he was just recently signed to Top Rank. So he has that fight with Bazinian. That was like one of those eliminator bouts or for a mono title there at super middleweight. And then they said, hey, we gonna get you back in the ring. So they got him back in the ring here against this Bruno guy. Just ended up being a bad look. Ended up being a bad look for him. You feel me? So now it's like he gets knocked out. He gets cleaned. He gets cooked. And that scene of him being on the canvas, and you see like them photographers that were there ringside, they were like, oh my God. It almost looked like, when Rayo Valenzuela fought Chris Colbert in the rematch. It was just cooking them, and then ended up with that, ultimate thing there where he knocked out Chris Colbert pretty much in the corner where Chris Colbert was at. And you seen Patrick Harris, or say Booby Harris, there in the background in the corner just shaking his head. And that's what you saw here when you saw Jaime Munguia get knocked down by Bruno freaking Surace with 4 KOs up to that point. Now it's 5 KOs. And I'm like, man, see, this right here, I guess it's just one of them bad breaks. But now, with Jaime Munguia, now you don't know what's going to happen at this point, because that's his second loss against a guy that was a huge underdog against him. And now it's like, back to the drawing board with Jaime Munguia. I don't think they had anything where it's like, you can't do this. He just got knocked clean out. Got knocked clean out. You're there with Top Rank. Like what are they gonna do? Like, what is, what is Bob Arum? What is, Bruce Trampler? What is Carl Moretti and them? What are they gonna do now with Jaime Munguia? As a recent signee, they had that co-promotion to deal with, and now this happens. They could have set up, they were looking about, setting up a fight, between him and these other contenders there at 168. Now with this happening, those plans are like almost like done, right? So now it's like the whole super middleweight situation kind of like has a few things here that they're gonna have to shore up. I know they got this thing here where Steven Nelson is gonna be fighting in January against Diego Pacheco, right? That's gonna be a key fight in the super middleweight division. Like, Steven Nelson was, around there, had like a minor version of the WBO title before he, was inactive for about 1.5 to 2 years. Like, we ain't seen him until, that card on August 3rd over in Los Angeles. And now, after him getting that Sabas victory, now he's, back in the scene there, super middleweight, and now they put him in a position to, have a key fight there for one of those top spots at 168. So we got to see how he fares on that. Haven't heard much about Lester Martinez since, he was scratched out of the fight against Joshawn James. He was supposed to be on Pro Box. And, I talked with, his trainer there, Esau Dieguez, of course, out there with BNB, like same camp as Steven Nelson. But, with the condition that he had that had him scratched out of that fight against Joshawn James, they don't really know if he's going to be, back in the gym in January or not. And he's like one of those contenders that like number 2 or number 3 in the WBA or something like that. After his win over Carlos Congora months ago in DC. So you're going to have a pretty interesting situation there at 168. Of course, I talked with Coach Ronnie Shields, who's there with Jamal Charlo. And Jamal Charlo about to get back on the scene. And he's supposed to be, getting back in the ring March 1st. So we gotta see how that's gonna work. Everybody's saying like, hey, you're gonna end up fighting Cornflake LaManna, but I've heard from some of my folks around the boxing circles, they're like, if there's a possibility that there's a bigger opponent available for him later on down the line, he might as well scrap that fight with Cornflake and take it. But it just depends on what happens. But we'll see. We'll get into that in tomorrow, because we're gonna have scheduled to be back on tomorrow. Is Real Boxing with Ronnie Shields. It's going to be on with Joseph Heron there, Warwick Boxing. So, after a good few weeks of, not being on, we're going to have a return of Real Boxing with Ronnie Shields. It's supposed to be like that. So, y'all tune in. I'll be part of that tomorrow. She's scheduled for 8 p.m. Eastern time, right? Yeah, so y'all be on the lookout for that. Of course, Saturday we got that fight, the rematch, Alexander Usyk, Tyson Fury. Hey man, I'm leaning towards Usyk, man, because I think even though both of them are pretty much like up there in age. Fury's like wear and tear inside and outside the ring, I think it's gotten to him. Yeah, we had that trilogy with Deontay Wilder, and that trilogy with Deontay Wilder, like even with him, kind of like having that second fight where he dominated, the third fight where he got knocked down twice, but I think that's taking more out of him than some may realize. And he's kind of like been in there for a good little while. He's part of that era, that Fury, Wilder, Joshua era, where they're, around 34, 35 and up. And they've been in the game for a long time. So after being in the game for like 10, 12, 13 years plus or whatever it is, you kind of like getting in the back half or the back part of your career. And having fights of this caliber take a real toll on you. And with Alexander Usyk has gone through these fights at heavyweight and not really been hurt. Not really been hurt against Tyson Fury, not really been hurt against Anthony Joshua. Had the whole controversy thing with Daniel Dubois, but he was able to respond to that and ended up getting a stoppage. So, at least for Usyk, he doesn't really have that much wear and tear. And he's looking like, really, really confident that he could go in there and defeat Fury once again. And the thing with Fury is he kind of like uses his gift of gab, so to speak, to try to get in the head of his opponents. He can't really do that against Alexander Usyk. He tried that in the first fight, and you see what happened. So he can't do that here anymore. Like, even in the whole thing with the thing for the rematch, he's like, "You're rabbits! You couldn't take me down, you're rabbits! You sausage!" Like, even with all that stuff, like, Usyk ain't really buying all that. So it's basically up to Fury to kind of like say, "Hey, you know what? I gotta be at the top of my game. I gotta be able to be consistent with that and show that I'm supposed to be the guy that should say, hey, I'm the skilled big guy against a skilled little guy. I'm supposed to be the one that really shows that there's supposed to be, levels, weight classes, and all that type of stuff." But you didn't really see that in the first fight, or at least in that back half of that fight, So I think here with Tyson Fury, he has to have a fast start. At least I believe he should have a fast start, because if he doesn't, then you're gonna give Usyk that opportunity to kind of like reserve his energy or whatever it is for the back half of the fight. And we've seen what Usyk has done after the sixth round against a number of the opponents that I had brought up. So that being said, that's why I'm leaning towards Alexander Usyk. That's why I'm favoring Alexander Usyk here. And like I was telling Coach Ronnie Shields last week, I said, this is big for Tyson Fury, because if he doesn't get this win in the rematch, I feel like that's going to be it for Tyson Fury. That he's going to be done, especially if he ends up getting stopped by Alexander Usyk. Because if he gets stopped by Usyk in this rematch, I feel like his overall value is pretty much like out the window. It's out the window. So with that being said, man, I'm like, yo, he gonna have to be at the top of this game. Sugar Hill Stewart gonna have to, really do something to get Tyson Fury ready for this, man. Because if not, you're gonna see Alexander Usyk win again. And at least for me, man, he's been the top pound for pound fighter here so far. You know, having his wins that he's had in the heavyweight division it's like something that we have not seen in this era. Like we haven't seen it here in this era. Like this is. I know you have Roy Jones Jr. that was able to win a world title there against what? John Ruiz at heavyweight. And Roy Jones Jr. was one of the most athletically gifted fighters of all time. One of the most talented fighters that probably ever laced up a pair of gloves. But he had his fight there with Ruiz, but never had that defining fight against the guys that were also part of that era. The Mike Tysons, the Evander Holyfields, and Lennox Lewis's. Like those guys. You know, even with Mike Tyson, even at that particular instance, like that would have been, you know, the super fight. There at heavyweight. If you would have Roy Jones there against Mike Tyson, yeah, it was close to happening, but it didn't quite happen. And we know about the story with that, or at least some people know about the story with that. If you don't know, then you probably have to look it up through, like, do a search, Roy Jones, Mike Tyson, Jay Prince, and you'll pretty much get the story for that. But other than that, like, we haven't seen something like that, this in the modern era, where a fighter that was at cruiserweight become the undisputed champion, defend that title, you know, they're at cruiserweight, then go up to heavyweight, have a couple of fights at heavyweight, then go up against the unified heavyweight champion of the world in Anthony Joshua, and nearly stop Anthony Joshua in the first fight. Then you had a close fight in the rematch. Then he was able to get a couple more wins, have the win over Daniel Dubois, and then almost stop Tyson Fury at heavyweight. Like, you face basically the top two guys in the heavyweight division, or two of the top three guys in the heavyweight division of the time, and was able to get the wins over those two fighters. And he could have two wins over Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Like, after that, there probably isn't anything else that, you know, he could do at this point. So if he's able to score this win, I didn't talk about Tyson Fury considering retirement, but Alexander Usyk could do the same thing. If he gets this win, it's like, what else is out there for Alexander Usyk to do in the heavyweight division if he beats Tyson Fury twice? He don't really need that IBF belt. He's already been named undisputed champion. He's already the number one guy in the heavyweight division. Like, fight Daniel Dubois again? Like, for what? Like, he's getting paid crazy money for these two fights against Tyson Fury. After that, he ain't gonna, man, I don't think he's ever gonna sniff anywhere near that amount of money in any fight. So what's the point of him getting in the ring to fight anybody else if he defeats Tyson Fury again? Like, I don't see it. So we'll see what happens here on Saturday. Cause as far as I know, man, like, to be honest, that's pretty much like the only fight on that card that I would have any interest in. We were supposed to have, what is it, Sergey Boychuk against Israel Madrimov, right? Ah, damn. Now I'm just riding around a little bit south of the border. I ain't in Mexico. It's just some other joint today. What it's called south of the border. Some spot called south of the border. That's some other shit. All right. But yeah, that Fury Usyk rematch, that's about the only interesting fight on there. Israel Madrimov versus Sergey Boychuk. That's pretty much scrap. Cause they talk about Israel Madrimov caught an illness, whatever it is. But we all know that he is about to fight Virgil Ortiz Jr. on February 22nd. We're about 2 months away from that fight card. So it's almost like, why get in the mix against Sergey Boychuk and then turn right around and face Virgil Ortiz like that? Like that, that really don't make no sense. But they the ones that, put that matchup up there, So there's that, right? But also on that tip, how you gonna have Israel Madrimov in there against Virgil Ortiz Jr. and Virgil Ortiz Jr. was talking about, we wanted to fight Boots. Boots wanted to do this, to do that. I'm like, no. If you just wanted to go ahead and have a fight against anybody at 154 on February 22nd, and that's what was proposed to you by Riyadh Caesar, Turkey Al Sheikh, then that's cool. Don't bring somebody into the mix if you have no real intentions on fighting them. Man, I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is. But you're going to have Virgil fight Israel Madrimov February 22nd, right? Like, who the heck? Like, what the heck is this, dog? Like, you're going to have that thing there, Virgil Ortiz and Israel Madrimov. And, I mean, that's still going to be a great fight. It's still going to be a great fight, but, like, why bring anybody else up in the mix if you don't really have much intentions on fighting them? That's why that whole Boots situation just didn't make much sense. And still folks fell for it. They completely fell for it, But that whole card's gonna be really good. What else am I looking forward to in that one? Danny Dubois, Joseph Parker. Of course, the rematch, Baturviev versus Bivol. That's gonna be something. What is it? Josh Boasi versus Callum Smith. Zhilei Zhang versus Agi Cabello. Like, those are gonna be some serious joints. What the heck is going on here? Hold on. But yeah, man. But that's mainly what I got, man. I gotta see what's going on or what's happening around this joint, cause look like this thing here trying to flip the script on me as far as like where I'm trying to go. But like I said, I had to go ahead and chime in on Jaime Munguia getting basically cooked by Bruno Surace, whatever it is. Bad look for Jaime Munguia. You feel me? So that I don't know if that's gonna pretty much. I think it could end him as a contender there in the super middleweight division, because now that folks see where he is at as far as like his defense, he wasn't really known for much for defense anyway in the first place. You feel me? And now you see that he gets basically blasted by a guy that had 4 knockouts in his career. And that could be it. But with that being said, I gotta get through this joint. We'll have a like I said, we usually have the midweek report. We're gonna see about having that midweek report on Wednesday. We'll chime in more on what's going down between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. Probably get in-depth breakdown on that. But with that being said, I'm out this piece.